All right. It's been another day or two. Honestly, I've made so many videos about this custom window that at this point nobody's going to ever take me serious. but I would like to present to you, I swear to God, a working single thread custom window in Windows. And it's taken me a lot of time because I kept like trying to get it to work with the resizing, the moving, the snapping features, the constant rendering, creating a graphics context and all of this. And I went all the way to DirectX 12 to see if the issue was just WGL. And then I had an issue with DirectX 12 that made me think, okay, I'm going to retry this in WGL. And then it did work in WGL, but not in DirectX 12. Possibly because I don't know what I'm doing. That might have played a role in it. But here you go. I'm going to go up like this. I'm going to resize it up. That works. Resize it left and right works. Snapping features work perfect. The only thing that I didn't do yet is fix this, but that's like a business logic issue. So I went all the way through Google. Let me find just a single article about people experiencing the exact issue I was having. If I can find it here. Okay, here's one. And here's another. And then there was one. I think it's this one. Okay, so here's the issue I was having. You guys can see that he resizes it. It's no issue. But then with the multi-threading, he resizes it and he gets a little stutter at the bottom. And I had exactly the same issue. And I have thought so long about how to fix this, and I couldn't figure it out. And as a matter of fact, I still haven't figured it out. But what I did figure out is that when you stop trying to find windows and you just make everything single threaded and you use like Windows timers during resizing and the rest is just a constant loop, you don't get this issue. And I roughly know what the issue is, and so much as that when you create a projection, an orthographic projection from like the window size, there's a race condition between Windows updating the size of your window, you using that in your projection, and then Windows resizing again and stretching the frame buffer to over the window. And I've seen one other guy talk about this. It's a nice article, and he says the fundamental problem here is that the 3D graphics pipeline is essentially asynchronous. This is true. You get like a stutter that you just cannot fix. And he goes into detail about how to possibly fix it. All GPU frameworks are an event loop, which is quite similar to the game loop. Unfortunately, the event loop has complex, messy requirements, especially around threading and reentry. I think this is mostly for legacy reasons. So, and then he goes on to this, and then he says, where is the specific line I'm actually interested in? Okay. Many people have struggled with the issue, both on macOS and Windows. For example, I turned 2 switches to software rendering while resizing, and for this reason, fortunately, Tristan, I'm going to butcher his name, has recently figured out a recipe to make it work, which you can read in the glitchless metal window resizing block pulse, and the key inside is to use CA metal layer instead of MTK view, and sets presets with transaction. So the similar issue in Windows is the flip model. And it makes everything go out of sync. And what you're trying to do is get, from what I understand, 3 different processes to synchronize. You're trying to get your graphics pipeline to synchronize. You're trying to get your presenting to synchronize. And then also the Windows WM. That is so much as that I'm understanding so far. Now, I might just be pulling that out of my ass. It might be completely wrong. I don't know. But I've just considered not fighting this. And here's another person talking about it. And then I found somebody else with the issue. not GLFW related. This is on Qt. Let me see. He has a similar issue, but he's more talking about the actual frame buffer not matching the screen. Now I can emulate that by going into my code here up until on size, and then just not drawing. And then not drawing when I'm resizing. So if I pull my window here, okay, I can't move my window anymore. There's another bug going on. But you can see on the right side here that now you see the black bar. And that mostly just has to do with how fast you're able to draw to the screen when Windows wants you to do that. All right. So, moral of the story is threading, it is almost impossible to get working. I don't know how browsers are doing it. I don't know how any application really is rendering in another thread and then still providing the smooth, synchronized data about the window to the thread, because I keep having race conditions. But the easy solution, I'll just show you, is you make the window, you do a peak message, and then you wait for either a new message or for your timer to expire, and it's 1 millisecond. And if I'm not resizing, I do a tick, and a tick is very simply check if we are going at the correct frame rate. We render our app, we update our app, we swap the window, and that's it. And then inside of the actual message handling, let's go down here. Inside of the message handling, as soon as we start resizing, I set a Windows timer, and if I stop resizing, I kill that timer, and that timer basically just calls the tick method, but asks it to ignore the actual frame timer. And then on the sizing, you always render. On the sizing, you always render. So my bad, when I said tick, I mean it should not ignore the frame timer during the resizing timer, but it should ignore the frame timer when the actual resize happened. And this allows you to keep up with the sizing in Windows. One small issue with that though is if you're rendering complex scenes, you're going to be asking Windows to re-render a complex scene, or you're going to ask OpenGL to re-render that complex scene 100 times per second, depending on how fast the Windows actually sends the sizes messages. So to that extent, I wrote up here, this is the cleanest setup to avoid having to use threading. What you probably want to do is render into a buffer, then render that buffer using a shared context to prevent overdrawing complex scenes. But from what I recall, when I tried to do this, it gave me the jittering issue because you have to synchronize all of this stuff happening at the same time. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe we can also do it synchronously by rendering a good frame, and then in the force redraws, we don't completely re-render the scene. We just render the buffer that we have. But I don't really know because it creates stretching artifacts. All I know is that this particular issue, guys, it's been a very long video. This particular issue is to me very complicated, and there is not a lot of documentation on it. All they seem to tell you is, well, you gotta draw when the window resizes, and you probably want to do that in a different thread because otherwise Windows blocks up. I got it working just without a second thread, just by using Windows timers and the messaging system. So there you go. That's my I don't know, not my 2 cents, more like my $50 on this issue. And if you guys find out how to do it with multi-threading, let me know. But this is what I'm going to be doing for now.